Hi everybody, this is Kenny Wayne Shepherd for Guitare Xtreme magazine.
Yeah, so today I'll show you, I'll kind of take you through a couple of different blues grooves and progressions and just kind of show you how I weave in and out of a couple of different scales within the standard 1-4-5 blues changes. So we'll start off in the key of E. We'll do like a Texas shuffle kind of thing. So that's really kind of like a mixture of like an SRV, Texas blues with a little bit of Jimmy Vaughn, and also some Jimmy Reed in there as well. Especially with the Jimmy Reed part, when you go to the 5 chord, you go up. I'm tuned to E flat, so I'm a half step down right now. But when you go up to the 5, which in standard tuning would be your B, Jimmy Reed does this thing where instead of playing the root note of the beat, that he actually lets the A string ring open, which creates a little bit of tension. So that's a pretty interesting thing about Texas blues. You hear a lot of guys that are doing old school Texas blues, and they play that lick often. And then what I try and do when soloing over those kinds of grooves, I like to do a lot of open string stuff. So I like to find opportunities where I can play, instead of single notes, I can play several notes, at the same time, and stuff that's very percussive. So something like this is usually what you would hear me play over a shuffle like that. Cool. Yeah, I always like to do stuff where there's more than one string going. I think, I'm not really exactly sure. Like last night, I was going, I have this app on my phone, and it has lists of scales and chords. And anyways, I was looking at the list of scales, and there were so many scales. There's actually more pentatonic scales than I even knew that existed. And when I started looking at them, and the notes that are in them, then I realized that I weave in and out of a lot of those, but I don't realize it because I never sat down. The only scale that I ever sat down and spent a lot of time trying to learn is the standard, Pentatonic Box Scale, which is just. But there's variations of that, but I don't know what they're called. So, just by doing that's going in and out of a couple of different versions of the pentatonic scale, but I can't tell you the exact names of those. But that's probably at least 2 or 3 different versions of the pentatonic scale just by adding those different notes. And then you can also go like for me, when I play, most of what I do is instinctual. But one thing that a friend of mine taught me when I was a little kid, he was like one of the only people that really showed me anything on guitar. He was a friend of our family's, and he could play guitar, and Clapton was one of his biggest influences. And so he always stressed to me two things. He said vibrato is most important, and he showed me how Clapton does his vibrato. And then I studied like B.B. King and Albert King and Stevie Ray and their vibrato. So there's like three different approaches to vibrato. And then the other thing is how to resolve a solo and to work your way. He taught me that it's really important. You know, a lot of guys work their way up, but they need to know how to find their way back down as well. And for me, I always keep that in mind, you know, and actually so much so that then when I go in the studio and play on other people's records, sometimes they want to hear me end on a high note, but I'm used to resolving on a lower note because it sounds good to my ear. But, you know, it's like, it's good to work your way up and get high. You know? But I always like to work my way back down because it just sounds like it's more resolved that way. And then there's ways to, you know, that's within this box here, but you can work your way down the entire neck if you want, you know, you can. Let me do that for you. A lot of different positions, you know, if you're in the key of E. So there's a lot of notes in between, and you know, but what I'll do a lot of times also is I'll just slide down. You know, which I learned from Stevie Ray Vaughan, you know, was something that he would do a lot. And it actually is pretty dramatic if it's done in the right spot. So, you know, if you're just up here. You know, so it's like a really fast change rather than working your way down gradually. So it can really, you know, that can kind of take people's ears by surprise, and it can catch their attention. So, or sliding up is the same thing. You know, you just go up really fast instead of gradually working your way up. Just get on up there. As far as just one other thing, I don't know about this. I don't know what this scale is called, but it's one that I use frequently outside of just the regular pentatonic one, but I use it in when we're doing a lot of ballads and stuff, like really slow songs that are usually in major keys. This one works really well, but it's but it's a lot of the just in-between notes, you know. It's good stuff when you want to play something pretty. You know? One other thing I would like to say, for me, rhythm is really important. You know, there's a lot of guys, like when I first started learning how to play guitar, and I see a lot of guitar players when they first pick up the instrument, they just want to solo, you know, and they want to impress everybody with their soloing, and you know. But I think rhythm guitar playing is really underrated because it's really important. And just because you can be a lead guitar player doesn't necessarily make you a great rhythm guitar player. And with rhythm guitar, sometimes you know, the right hand is the most important thing. And then sometimes it's what you don't play that can be most important as well, which the same applies for soloing, you know. At least in my approach, my soloing, I've found that I've been wanting to play less notes instead of more notes lately. And I feel like those wide open spaces when I'm not playing anything sometimes can be as important or more important than some of the greatest licks that I can play. But rhythm guitar playing for me, like watching James Brown and his band and stuff, it really helped my right hand, you know, and to know all these kinds of different picking techniques and stuff and ways to keep time. I keep time throughout the entire performance with my right hand, you know, but you can do all these funk things. That's where Stevie Ray Vaughan got, you know, that kind of stuff, but you know. Stuff, I can play that all day long. It's a lot of fun. And then I incorporated the right hand stuff in songs of my own, you know. But it's like one thing that I learned from a Texas blues approach is to have this constant motion with your right hand. You know what I mean? But with rhythm playing, so it's like you write the part for your left hand around the motion of the right hand. So you can do it in all kinds of, there's so many different licks that will work that way, like you know, like a regular Texas shuffle. Stuff like that, and then you can just build songs around it. It's all about this right here and just keeping that motion. Well, sometimes when soloing in blues, depending upon the change, I mean, a lot of times I'll just approach the whole song, you know, with whatever the dominant chord is, which is in the E position, basically. But there are some times where, you know, it can go to the 5, and then you can work your way up and play in a B position. So it's like... So, you know, that's working your way down to that, but it's all pretty much, you know, it's all still kind of the same thing. You're in the key of E, and that's the dominant chord, so it's just finding your way within that. But usually, I'll just stay.